Good evening, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something that cuts across borders, generations, and platforms. It's something that we all know deep down, but we don't say it out loud enough. Real is rare. Fake is everywhere. We live in a world where filters are the norm, not the exception, where perfection is performed and authenticity is edited out, where likes validate us more than love ever could, and where being fake has somehow become a survival skill. But let me tell you this, being real, that takes courage. Being real means showing up with your flaws, not just your followers. It means choosing truth over trends. It means admitting you're not perfect and knowing you don't have to be. I come from a world where I've had to play many roles, not just on screen, but in life. I've been an outsider, an insider, a success story, a failure, a daughter, a wife, a dreamer, a doer. And the one thing I've learned through it all is this: the only identity worth fighting for is the one that's truly yours. It's easy to blend in. It's easy to wear a mask, to become what people expect you to be. But it's brave and rare to stand out and say, "This is who I am, take it or leave it." And yes, sometimes when you're real, people will walk away, opportunities will pass, you'll be judged, criticized, misunderstood. But guess what? The ones who stay, the ones who see you, truly see you, they're your tribe, and they are rare too. So don't shrink yourself to fit into spaces that weren't built for your truth. Don't apologize for being complex, messy, loud, ambitious, emotional, vulnerable, for being human. Realness is not about being perfect. It's about being present. And when you choose that, even in a world that's loud with fakeness, you become the rarest thing of all. You become free. So to anyone out there who feels like they're too much or not enough, keep going. Keep being real, because in a world full of filters, your truth is your superpower. Real is rare. Let's not just protect it. Let's live it. Being real in today's world requires immense courage. It's not easy to go against the grain when everything around us seems to be pushing us toward perfection, polish, and pretension. Society, media, and even our personal circles often condition us to believe that showing our true selves with all our flaws, fears, and failures is a weakness. But in reality, it's one of the greatest strengths a person can possess. Authenticity means embracing your imperfections, owning your story, and not being afraid to stand in your truth, even when it's uncomfortable or unpopular. When you're real, you choose to be vulnerable. You allow yourself to be seen as you are, not as how others want you to be. That can be terrifying because it opens the door to judgment, criticism, and rejection. Yet, it also creates space for genuine connection, respect, and love. People are drawn to authenticity, even if they don't always realize it. There's something deeply human about someone who's not afraid to say, "This is me. I'm not perfect, but I'm honest." The courage to be real often means going against what's expected. It means not always saying what's popular or doing what's trendy. It requires a sense of self-awareness and inner strength that isn't built overnight. It grows through experiences, through the moments where you chose honesty over approval, or self-respect over fitting in. Those moments may feel isolating at times, but they're also the ones where your character is defined and your confidence is shaped. Choosing authenticity doesn't mean being reckless or insensitive. It means being grounded. It means knowing who you are and refusing to compromise your values just to be accepted. It's about making peace with your story, the good, the bad, and the complicated, and realizing that your worth isn't dependent on how polished you appear, but on how true you are to yourself. In a world that constantly asks us to edit, filter, and fabricate our identities to match a curated ideal, the decision to be real is nothing short of revolutionary. It's a quiet kind of bravery that speaks louder than perfection ever could. And the best part, it inspires others to be real too. In a world dominated by social media, metrics like likes, shares, and follower counts have become modern markers of worth. It's easy to fall into the trap of equating these numbers with value, but they are fleeting and often deceptive. True self-worth doesn't come from how many people click a heart on your photo or how many followers admire your curated life. It comes from within, from a deep understanding and acceptance of who you are when no one is watching. Validation from social media and the outside world feels good. It gives an instant rush, a sense of belonging, and sometimes even the illusion of success. But it's temporary and fragile. One day you're celebrated, the next day you're forgotten or criticized. When you rely solely on external approval to feel confident or happy, you give away your power. You become dependent on something you can't control, the opinions of others, which are as changeable as the wind. The problem arises when this external validation starts to define your identity. You begin to shape your life around what others want to see, not what truly reflects who you are. You hide your struggles, filter your emotions, and polish your life to meet unrealistic expectations. But behind the screens, behind the applause, there's often loneliness and a lack of fulfillment. Because deep down, we all crave something real, not just from others, but within ourselves. The truth is, your value is not up for debate. It isn't determined by how you look, what you achieve, or how much recognition you receive. It is inherent. It exists simply because you do. And once you realize that, you stop chasing approval and start living with intention. You stop needing to prove something and start focusing on what truly matters: your growth, your peace, your purpose. There's incredible freedom in knowing you don't need to impress anyone to be enough. When you stop measuring your worth by likes or followers, you begin to reconnect with your inner voice, the one that tells you what feels right, what brings joy, what aligns with your truth. And from that place, you build a life that's not only successful on the outside, but also meaningful on the inside. That's the kind of validation no platform can give and no one can take away. In a world where we are constantly expected to fit into categories, play roles, and meet expectations, holding on to your true identity becomes one of the most powerful and important things you can do. It's easy to lose yourself in the noise, to let the opinions of others, societal norms, or even personal fears shape who you think you should be. But the truth is, the only identity that truly matters is the one that reflects who you are at your core. And that identity is worth protecting, nurturing, and fighting for. We often grow up being told what's acceptable, what's admirable, and what success should look like. Sometimes, in the process of trying to be the perfect student, the perfect child, the perfect professional, or the perfect partner, we slowly drift away from our real selves. We start wearing masks to please others or to avoid judgment. And those masks, over time, become heavy. They silence our voice, dim our light, and disconnect us from our authenticity. Reclaiming your identity means being honest about what you believe, what you value, and what makes you feel alive. It means standing firm in your uniqueness, even when it doesn't align with what's trending or popular. That takes strength. It takes knowing that your worth is not in how well you fit in, but in how fearlessly you stand out. There's a kind of quiet confidence that comes from being rooted in your truth, one that doesn't waver with the changing tides of public opinion. The journey to owning your identity isn't always smooth. You will face resistance from others and sometimes even from yourself. Doubt will creep in. Comparison will tempt you to mold yourself into someone else's image. But every time you choose to show up as you are, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. You remind yourself that your story, your background, your experiences, both beautiful and painful, are not things to hide. They are the foundation of your strength. You are not here to be a copy of someone else. You are not here to meet someone else's version of enough. You are here to be real, to be bold, and to be fully yourself. Because your identity, the one that's true, imperfect, and entirely yours, is not just valuable. It's irreplaceable, and it's absolutely worth fighting for. Choosing to stand out in a world that constantly pushes you to fit in is one of the most courageous decisions you can make. From a young age, many of us are taught to follow the rules, stay within the lines, and not draw too much attention to ourselves unless it's in ways that are widely accepted or praised. But true growth, true freedom, and true impact come from those moments when you decide to step outside of what's expected and fully embrace your individuality. Standing out isn't about being loud or rebellious for the sake of it. It's about honoring your truth, even when it doesn't align with the crowd. There's comfort in conformity. When you blend in, you don't risk rejection. You don't make waves, you follow the formula that others have approved, and in doing so, you're less likely to be questioned. But you're also less likely to feel fulfilled, because deep inside, there's a voice that knows you're meant for more than just acceptance, you're meant for authenticity. And being authentic often means taking the harder road, the one that may not be paved with applause but is rich with meaning. The fear of standing out is very real. It invites criticism. It exposes you to misunderstandings and isolation. But it also opens the door to self-respect, inner peace, and the kind of success that actually feels good. When you choose not to conform, you're telling the world that your truth matters more than approval. That's not arrogance, that's self-worth. People who stand out often inspire others, not because they're perfect, but because they're brave enough to be themselves. Their authenticity challenges the status quo and gives permission for others to do the same. When you live boldly in your own skin, you become a mirror reflecting possibility to those who feel stuck in their masks. Standing out might cost you popularity, but it gains you something far more valuable: integrity. You start attracting opportunities and relationships that align with who you really are, not who you pretend to be. That's when life stops feeling like a performance and starts feeling like a purpose. So let them stare, let them talk, let them not understand, just keep standing in your truth, because it's better to shine as yourself than to fade trying to be someone else. Being real isn't about achieving perfection. It's about being present, honest, and grounded in who you are. So often we confuse authenticity with flawlessness, thinking we must have everything figured out, look a certain way, or speak with polished clarity to be accepted or respected. But the truth is, realness begins when we drop the performance and simply allow ourselves to be here, as we are in this moment. It's not about having all the answers, it's about showing up with sincerity and self-awareness, even when things feel messy or uncertain. Perfection is an illusion. It's a moving target shaped by constantly shifting standards, and chasing it often leads to burnout, insecurity, and self-doubt. When we hold ourselves to unrealistic expectations, we begin to hide the parts of us that don't measure up. We become more focused on controlling how we're seen than on how we actually feel. That distance between appearance and reality grows, and slowly, we begin to lose touch with our truth. Realness, on the other hand, invites connection. When you let your guard down and show who you really are, your struggles, your dreams, your fears, you give others permission to do the same. It's not about being raw for attention or confessing every detail of your life. It's about being intentional and open, choosing honesty over image and vulnerability over performance. There is strength in presence. There is grace in imperfection. When you stop trying to be what the world expects and start focusing on how you actually feel, your life becomes more aligned and fulfilling. This kind of presence also means listening deeply to yourself and to others. It means being aware of what you need, honoring your boundaries, and responding from a place of integrity. It requires you to be awake in your own life, not numbed out or constantly distracted by outside noise. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more present people. People who are tuned in, emotionally available, and real in their relationships, work, and self-expression. When you live with that kind of presence, people notice. Not because you're flawless, but because you're real. In a world obsessed with perfection, authenticity becomes a quiet revolution, and that kind of realness, the kind that comes from simply being fully present, has more impact than perfection ever could. Your truth is your superpower. In a world that constantly tries to shape you, sell to you, and tell you who you should be, owning your truth is a radical act. It's not just about being honest with others, it's about being honest with yourself, about your feelings, your dreams, your past, and your values. When you know who you are and what you stand for, no one can take that away from you. It becomes your anchor in the chaos, your compass in uncertainty, and your strength in moments of doubt. There's something incredibly powerful about someone who speaks and lives from a place of truth. They don't need to shout or seek attention because their energy speaks for itself. People are drawn to authenticity even if they can't always explain why. It creates trust, it creates impact, and it creates connection. When you live your truth, you stop needing to chase validation or pretend to be someone you're not. You walk into rooms without needing approval because you've already accepted yourself, of course. Living your truth isn't always easy. It might make you stand out, it might make some people uncomfortable, it might even mean losing relationships or opportunities that were built on a version of you that wasn't real. But what you gain in return is far greater: peace of mind, inner freedom, and a life that actually belongs to you. You stop performing and start living. You stop comparing and start creating, and in that space your unique voice can rise. The most successful people, the ones who leave a mark, are rarely the ones who blend in. They're the ones who lean into their uniqueness and let their truth guide their path. They use their stories, both the pain and the triumph, as fuel for something greater. That's the essence of power, not being perfect, but being real and using that realness to lead, inspire, and uplift. Your truth is not a weakness. It's your story, your perspective, your fire. And when you embrace it fully, without shame or hesitation, you become unstoppable. You give others permission to do the same, and that ripple effect is how change begins. In a world full of noise and imitation, your truth is the one thing no one can duplicate. Own it, live it. That is your superpower. Thanks.